Success in farming is all about precision and efficiency, ensuring every seed, every drop of water, every nutrient and treatment counts. Terraplex Ag is helping farmers all over Iowa and the Midwest do just that. With precision ag drone technology and support from Terraplex, you'll boost your productivity and make timely and informed decisions, all while reducing your costs and increasing your profit. It's time to revolutionize your farming. Harvest the benefits with Terraplex Ag. Visit TerraplexAg.com.
Williams and Blum here on Sunday, the 19th of May, 2024. My name is Chris Williams. I am joined, as always, by Brent Blum, and we are recording actually early for us. It is in the AM hours. It's because Blum has a golf addiction.
It's fact.
It's okay.
Who's your pick? Who's your pick? Because everyone's going to make fun of you after the fact.
Is Scheffler? I haven't watched a single stroke.
Scheffler had a bad day yesterday, so he is.
What about my guy Tony Finau? That's my favorite golfer.
I struggled the last 9, so not really in play either.
Those would be my picks.
Okay, I'm a big Xander guy today.
I like to see Xander get the win.
He hasn't had a major yet. Ready for Xander to get a
Anybody
major.
but Bryson. I just can't stand Bryson.
Well, yeah.
I mean
that guy.
That guy's something.
Yeah.
The Scheffler story on Friday captivated me though. Like I like golf, like I will watch it, and I will watch it today. I'm not like anti. I'm not as into it as you are, and my problem with viewing sports now is, I think, interesting when you look at the topics of this podcast is like I like my auto racing, right? And I can watch so many races like whenever I want. Like last night I was just sitting in my garage. I was simultaneously watching a couple of our buddies, Kurt and Charlie and Speaker and all those guys down in like central Missouri. I was watching my buddy Gio run the World of Outlaws. Then I was watching some race out in Washington. Like it was like I can watch any, like, so it just takes away like these. I would have been watching the NBA playoffs 5 years ago. Well, and I still enjoy it. I'll watch Tyrese today.
Yeah.
In Game 7, but there's so many options.
You can watch what you want to watch now.
Yeah, like it's like it used to be when I was growing up. If I wanted to watch a race, like if me and my uncle wanted to watch a certain driver, we'd have to drive 400 miles maybe, and hope that he was there. And now it's just like, you just flip around, and so I think it's fascinating when you talk a lot about the topics that we do on this show about how the niche stuff and it's just so readily available for us. And you're like that with golf. I mean, like on Friday, I was really into this Scheffler getting arrested story.
Yeah, that's crazy
because it was so wild, and I was just locked into it. I couldn't take my eyes off of it. And I go on to ESPN Plus. First of all, I had to find where the golf was because I'm like, oh, surely it's on cable, and it wasn't. So I find it on ESPN Plus, and you can literally like follow golfers around.
Oh yeah, you should see the technology. Like it's getting to the point now where you can track every shot on the website and through their apps, and
you were telling me about
what I will do, even just regular tournaments, I'll just throw up PGA Tour Live through ESPN Plus, and I'll just have it on in the background, and it's great because there's very little commentary. You can just watch guys hit golf shots.
And you were telling me that and this was fascinating to me, you've been doing the Formula One thing where you can follow around like the drivers and stuff like that. Like, that's wild to me. Like but like even a guy like you who's not that into the sport, you just think the technology is cool, so you'll lock into it.
That's exactly, and that's what I did this morning. Actually, as I watched,
it's a good race this morning. Lando almost got him.
Yeah, I was Max isn't so dominant. Look, listen to me, knowing what I'm talking about here. No, it's fun. I mean, I think this whole combination of technology and sports is, it's very interesting, and it is very applicable to our discussion today and kind of where this whole thing is headed, because the more and more that tech gets involved is a good thing. And I would say we're learning now, C-Dub, that I think the college football playoff was super short-sighted. I think some of these conferences in general have been super short-sighted. But the saving thing here is tech's not going away. So potentially the tech companies could save college athletics in some ways, with these future
Well,
TV deals, which we've been talking about for 10 years, but they should have been doing it. They should have been doing it the last go round. They really should have. It's a huge missed opportunity between the college football playoff, but then also see the lack of money in the latest women's NCAA tournament negotiation was super troubling to me. They missed the ball on that. Maybe I know again these folks know more than me, but if you look at the numbers,
not
it's
necessarily.
wild.
I don't know if they do know more than you, and I'm not trying to be a dick, but like it is staggering, especially when you look at the college football playoff and the way this thing is set up and the money that Netflix just spent to get 2 NFL games. It is staggering how much money they likely left on the table with this college football playoff thing to be an exclusive ESPN. I mean, listen, NFL fans can bitch all they want, and they are.
Yeah.
About, I got to have 16 services to, the league's cashing checks and their salary cap goes up. And then, right, like it across the board. So what college football did stupidly, very stupidly, is there's a bunch of like clauses in all these contracts where if you want to renew or you want to do something, you have to give ESPN first right of refusal and all this. And they hit the button on some deal that gave ESPN exclusive rights to the playoff through 31 or whenever it is, and likely left billions.
I agree.
On the
I
table.
agree. It's
by
so
doing
here's
that.
so
I don't know if they are smarter than you. I'm just being honest, because these guys and some gals, it's mostly guys, they go to their fancy hotels and it is a good old boys club. I'm telling you, I've been there. Like it is a good old boys club. And I don't think that these people are like knowingly doing bad things. I just think that they're so set in their ways and that they're having a hard time adapting to some of this stuff. But they left billions on the table. There's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah. So this is a de facto mailbag episode. Just to do we need to share that we're presented by Mechdyne? We kind of just jumped.
Yeah, I was gonna get to that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll let. We are presented by our friends at Mechdyne and the Mechdyne Corporation. We're so passionate about this topic. We just dove right in. Wild Rose Casino Studios, of course.
Of course.
No Cody Road for me right now because it's 10:30.
I'm drinking an energy drink. Oh,
Atta
so
boy.
I gotta share this. So it's spring. So you're in Bondurant. It's get rid of all the junk you don't want. Weekend.
Yeah, and there's just drifters everywhere.
People everywhere. But so I was cleaning. I was doing some cleaning this week in the back room. Look what I found. 2009 DVD. Proud to be a Cyclone. The Paul Rhodes season. Still in its wrapper. By the way,
you got to pull that thing out, man.
I don't know. Is this like a collector's item?
If for a nut like us, absolutely.
A DVD. Like my kids would be like, "What's
Bob
that?"
Holt and Drummer made that, right?
That's a DVD, kids. A digital video disc. So anyway, crazy times here in Bondurant with spring cleaning, but I'll pretty quiet weekend otherwise.
Yeah, I threw a bunch of crap away and had all these people rummaging through my trash on Friday. I'm like, I threw a bunch of stuff on the corner, and this old guy is like rummaging through it. Can I take this? I'm like, it's there, isn't it?
My favorite is when they go through your stuff and then they don't take it. You're like, is
yeah, what's wrong with that?
Are you not entertained? I want to do like the whole Gladiator. Are you not entertained?
Yeah, the spring clean. Some of these people are out like on Wednesday rummaging through people's
ready to go.
People's crap.
I like it. That's America.
Brent's right. We're gonna finish out these mailbag questions that we offered up like 2 weeks ago. We'll do this a couple times in the summer, and hopefully it stays uneventful. But before we get to all those mailbag questions, and we're not going to just bore you with this business stuff, but this is really an important week, and I'll let Brent explain specifically why. But we're not just drumming up things to find top. This is a vitally important week for what the future of college athletics is going to look like. And Brent, so basically, like, we're going to find out about the settlements in this ongoing lawsuit that will greatly impact future students, past students, institutions, and everything, right? Like, give us the layman's terms here.
Yeah, so like we've been talking about for a couple weeks, this is the week where it's probably all going to go down in regards to settling those several lawsuits all at once. So it's going to amount to $2.7 billion in damages is what the settlement's going to be agreed to. And that's just past damages. But then there's also going to be a system set up going forward for future revenue sharing with student athletes. So this is the first domino to drop. It's not going to solve everything overnight, but it is going to lead to more discussions, Chris, on what does a future compensation model look like. It's going to be around $20 million per school that they're allowed to share with student athletes. I would say most won't spend all the way up to that amount. Some will. And the second part of this discussion is now the NCAA and these conferences have to go to Congress to get an exemption because all these things are fine and good, but if there's still future lawsuits, it doesn't really matter. And so the reason why they're settling this and agreeing to share up to $20 million, which is a lot of money, is they're hoping that is a good faith gesture to Congress to say, hey, look, we've listened. We're doing our part. We're now sharing $20 million a year with our athletes. Can you please give us an exemption to rule that these athletes are, in fact, students and not employees? Because if they get that, then all the other lawsuits basically go away, for lack of a better term, because Congress has power over and above some trial lawyer, basically. So this is a two-pronged approach. It's we're going to pay you all, but then also we're going to get our pals in Congress to jump on board, because that's ultimately the big protection we need to start operating in this world without future lawsuits. So this will tell us a lot, and it's not all going to get solved. I mean, the remaining questions I still have is, when does this kick in? Because it's going to directly, if schools have to start paying an extra $20 million, or really it's $25 million when you consider the back pay, there are going to be schools that are going to be completely in trouble. Somebody told me this week from our conversation, they said it was really good, which made me feel good, that Washington, who just spent $2 million on a basketball player, which is insane, is $75 million. They're getting $75 million a year from their school. So that's the reason why Troy Dannon left, is he got there, looked under the hood, and goes, oh my gosh, you guys are making money, but what are we doing with our spending? And the spending by some of these places is so out of control. And so while we look at it from Iowa State and goes, gosh, how do we compete? Some of those schools, even A&M, just eliminated like 20 positions. A&M, who has more money than some countries.
Isn't this a little bit, and I come from rural Iowa, I know a lot of our listeners, especially in our ag communities, will appreciate this analogy. But oftentimes where I'm from, Brent, like you don't judge the book by its cover, right? It's the guy with he's been wearing the same pair of overalls for 20 years, driving the same truck.
Totally.
And he's probably the richest guy in town, right? Like, just because you're driving the 2024 fully loaded 3,500, like, how much debt do you have, right? Like, and I wonder if, like, there's and even Iowa, like, they've had their problems, right? Like, with debt.
Look at the amount of, hey, if you get bored and you're on a Google rabbit hole, look at the debt that the University of Iowa Athletics owes right now. And even though they're going to get double the money in TV, they're so far in the hole. I mean, goodness gracious, thank goodness for Jamie Pollard, because Iowa State is pretty healthy and handled COVID so much better than anybody else from an execution standpoint, but then also a spending standpoint.
Yeah, and it's just not a sexy conversation, and it just doesn't get talked about enough. This is one of those things that I think, looking back 10 years from now, it'll be a really big deal, but it doesn't feel like it right now, because it's like, oh, well, the headlines are always, well, Otzelberger and Campbell are having all this success, but they're still at the bottom of their league in pay, and like, there's always more to it. And I don't like. I'm not in love with where Iowa State's going to be going forward, just because there's challenges. There's always going to be challenges. It's always been a challenging place to win. But I also I truly, to my core, believe that when this is all done, Iowa State's going to have a better opportunity to consistently win in the sports that really matter to fans than it ever has before. I still worry about the collateral of all of this. Like, is the NCAA going to lift, the 15 sport limit to be D1? Like, and if that's the case, like, how many golf teams get cut or whatever, like, that matters to me. I know that I truly believe the majority of fans don't care. I think Iowa State fans may be a little bit different because it's very a communal place. Like, I think Iowa State fans, they value the fact that Rocco Beck goes to school in Beard Shear Hall just like they did. Like, that matter. But I'm saying across the country, I genuinely don't think most college sports fans care about what happens to the gymnastics team.
Do you know who else doesn't care? Is ESPN and Fox don't care.
Yeah, they don't care. Like, none of this matters to them.
Unless they get TV ratings from it, they don't care. And that's who's running this thing.
Which is another reason why, and we ended Wednesday's podcast with this, I'm so glad to see the Netflixes of the world. I mean, Prime, Amazon, so just another, this isn't sports, but it's a TV property. My daughter, Cameron, is obsessed with country music. It's like her number one passion. We'll chip off the old block, right? And the ACM Awards were on in the middle of last week, which the American Country Music Awards was all these performances. Big deal in that world. And I couldn't find them anywhere. Where are these things at, Cameron? Like, is it on CMT? Is it on No, it was on Amazon Prime. They bought the rights to it and aired it live. And they did a really good job with it. And the reason I point that out is there's just all these little properties, like Apple taking the MLS, and I've been watching a lot of WNBA. I think a lot of people have been. There's stars now. Like, it's really. I wanted to see how this crop of freshmen stacks up with the greats in the WNBA, right? Like, and to see how it goes.
Yep.
A lot of those games are on these streaming devices, so like it is happening, and the more and more we get Amazon and Netflix. And then it makes ESPN not be able to be that bully. Like, they absolutely screwed the NCAA. You nailed it with the NCAA tournament for the women's. And I'd love to see Flow Wrestling, what they could do if they had the NCAA wrestling championships, right? Like, there's so many opportunities out there. But this has been a monopoly or duopoly for too long. And damn it, that time is going to come to an end at some point.
Yes, this is the question that I'd like to talk with you about, because I think it's interesting. And it's from Spencer. Spencer asks, do you think the Big 12 will be successful in separating football and basketball TV packages in the future? If so, what do you think basketball could be worth on its own? And I think this is where getting people to think beyond the past. Because right now, it has been I would say the convenience of getting something done that we know works is what has been the working thing of
who you're getting into bed with in Disney and Fox.
Right. And they have taken care of you and you're happy. And I'm a 60-year-old athletic director. I get those channels. I want to be able to make sure I can watch those channels. And the future can be scary. I don't know how to access that. You know,
even the coaches. Remember when the Big Ten coaches lost their minds because their games weren't going to be on ESPN anymore?
Yes.
Like Tom Izzo, and like they were all pissed because there's nobody going to be able to find us on Fox. Okay, what, right? Like, do you remember that? That was a story not that long ago.
Well, even when the Big 12 was negotiating 2 years ago, we had prominent people say, "Hey, we're legit concerned about the streaming thing because we want to make sure our fans can access it." So we, potentially I know the Big 12 ended up okay. I mean, the Big 12's TV deal ended the Pac-12, so you cannot, that's a good thing.
It's fine. Yeah.
But however, you gotta you got to skate to where the puck is going here. And, so I'm looking at this. I think breaking up football and basketball could be good. Now, there is going to be a lot of logistics to figure that out. But here's something that I was thinking about this morning, C-Dub, because I, like you, was watching some WNBA yesterday. I firmly believe women's basketball is completely undervalued at a national level right now. And, okay, this is two things. Caitlin Clark she's different. She was a unicorn. You're not going to continue at that same amount every year. There's no doubt. Like, that is not possible. You're not getting 12 million viewers or whatever she got for the championship game. Understand that. However, the contract for the women's basketball tournament, Chris, was $65 million a year. That is nuts. So just to put that in comparison, keep in mind, $65 million. The NBA right now is negotiating its TV package with its partners. Currently, the NBA is getting $24 billion over a certain amount. I think it's like 8 years. They're going to triple that. They're asking for $76 million, and they are going to get it. They're going to triple. They're going to triple their TV rights. What is, do 76 billion divided by 8, which is 10 billion a year. And I know that's the NBA and it's only women's college basketball, but 65 million compared to 10 billion is crazy to me. Like, what? You're not telling me the way that these women are building their brands and becoming more popular by the day that you could do better than that. And so I guess all that being said, I do think there's an opportunity with the way the NBA, and the NBA is not getting huge numbers, but it's a live TV product. I mean, this is what you just got to keep in mind. And it's a star-based product, and that's why it works. If you can really lean on building those superstars, and, yes, Caitlin Clark's gone, Cameron Brink's gone, but you still have the Watkins, you still have Audie Crooks, you still have Paige Beckers. They're going to keep coming.
Yeah.
And so I do think there's real value to these stars in college, not only in men's basketball, but in women's basketball as well, that would help for some of these live sports properties down the road.
Boy, it'd sure help, too, if they can, I'm not saying limit the transfers.
Well, thank you. That was my next thing. Yep.
But you got it. This can't turn into, if you're going to build a star, they can't be hopping schools from year to year.
You got it.
No, sometimes, mom got diagnosed with cancer. I want to get closer. I'm not saying they shouldn't be able to leave. That is not what but there has to be, if you want to build the stars, if you want to build that, there has to be some continuity, which is why, these coaches in men's basketball, at least, have always been the bigger stars because they're there from year to year. And this was due to the one and done thing, right? Well, this guy at Duke, this Zion kid, but he would go and you'd be there for a year and there wasn't any sort of way to build on that. But Mike Krzyzewski's going to be there, damn it. So we're going to build everything around him. And that's what made the highest rated show consistently in the history of our state was Iowa men's basketball back in the 90s. And it wasn't because they were winning national championships. Two things. One, it was on for everybody. And two, those players would stay for 4 or 5 years, right? They had a good TV contract, and there was that continuity, when Settles were there for 6 in a row. Right? So people, felt Chris Street, they knew these guys, right? And Iowa State didn't necessarily have that advantage because of the TV thing, but it would have been the same with Fred Hoiberg and those guys.
Fred Laurenmeyer.
Yeah, all of those guys. It would have been the same if they had that Raycom deal where everything was just being blasted out to everyone. You see my point though. It's not necessarily who the player is. It's they're wearing your colors and it's readily available to you, and you'll be more passionate about it in the long term, which means you watch more games, you buy more tickets, you buy more gear, and it keeps these athletic departments in business.
You got it. And this is why I'm really confident of, I know that the doom say, oh my gosh, this TV bubble is going to burst. I don't see it. And if the NCAA and these power conferences can get their crap together and have some meat to contracts, they're going to be in for a lot more good times. A lot more good times. Because if you get some stability in the transfer process, and CW, I even thought about this. Let's say you're an 18-year-old coming into Iowa State. You sign a 2 to 3 year deal with the school. You can't leave. Does that mean you can't go to the NBA either? Makes you wonder. You wonder about what these contracts look like. But at the very least, it'll bring a lot more stability. And you are dead on. Stability brings knowledge, which increases interest. And how much more interest are you in this Iowa State basketball team coming up this year than you were in TJ's first year when you didn't know anybody was going to be on the roster?
Oh,
you
yeah.
know?
This
But
will be
just
one of the most anticipated seasons in the history
Ever.
of Iowa State athletics.
Ever. And they will sell out season tickets. They will do all and it's because they're gonna be good, but you know everybody. You feel like you've gotten to know Taman Lipsey. You feel like you've watched Milan grow from a commit to
Oh,
now he's
yeah.
gonna be
That
all
Curtis
these
Jones
things.
has a great smile. I like him.
Exactly. And that's why
Right?
that is why women's basketball, I agree with you, has become really popular and has been in Ames for. We're not just like the folks in Iowa City who figured it out in the last 2 years. It's been popular in Iowa State for 25 years because you've
Correct.
gotten to know these players and they become second nature. And what Fenley and program have done all along, which has been great, and I think other schools are figuring this out, is they've been a vital part of the community and they've been around and they feel approachable. So the more you can do that, great. But then what women's college basketball is doing that it hasn't in the past, it's finally capitalizing on the extra marketing. It's not just your local stuff anymore. It's these players have this national recognition, and it's not going to slow down as long as they have these NIL marketing rights. It has really helped women's college basketball.
No doubt.
So I just think so. Back to the question, yes, I do think separating will be as long as you can figure out the risk, because there's always going to be some who push back and go, whoa, 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 I'm not comfortable with this. How is this going to add up? Live inventory for these technology companies is still as massive as it has ever been. What has been the most popular thing on streaming on Netflix in the past month? I just looked it up.
The Tom Brady roast?
The Tom Brady roast.
Yeah. I didn't know that, but I was assuming.
Because it was live.
Yeah.
And it was different. And that's where these tech companies are seeing more and more success with these one-offs that they're going to go, wait a second, we should probably look into this more. Why are we spending $100 million on this 8-series run when we can have all of these games?
The way this would look to me is, okay, so we're going to sell Big 12 basketball separately, and we're going to have 3 parts. CBS is going to buy out, like CBS is a big basketball entity, so they're going to buy 5 Saturday games. We're going to keep a bunch of games on ESPN, and then we're going to put some games on, let's just say Amazon Prime is going to buy, X amount of games, and they're going to broadcast the Big 12 men's and women's basketball tournaments live exclusively on Amazon Prime.
There you go.
That's how it would look.
There you go. That's exactly what the NBA's. That's exactly what the NBA is negotiating right now. And they're about to get $76 billion, 3 times what they got, which was thought to be an unheard of TV deal last time.
It's actually quite terrifying. Like, do you ever think about, so ESPN's kind of thought of as the devil in college athletics, right? I'd challenge people to go and look up market caps of these companies just to see how much bigger. So an ESPN's just a segment of Disney. Right, so you have all the parks, your cruise lines, your merch, your movies, all that stuff. To compare the size of companies that Amazon is compared to Disney,
right?
It's unfathomable.
Well, and
how large that company has gotten, which is good because they can throw money around like crazy. But it's also God, what are they going to be in 10 years?
Well, and it makes you.
It's a whole other philosophical conversation.
Yeah, it for sure, and there is some concern. Do you really want these entities that are gobbling up every single thing? I don't know.
Yeah,
it's a bigger topic. I just think college athletics has been run poorly in the last 25 years. They're taking the layups when there is wide open 3-pointers in the corner. And we've moved beyond the mid-range jump shot. Yeah, there's a better analogy. College administrators have taken the mid-range jump shot because, hey, that worked in the 80s. When the corner three is a lot better. It's just the corner three can be riskier, and you're going to have to take a chance there. And I just, there's so much more there. You can't just, but they're doing the ESPN Fox thing because it's easy and it's known, and the old timers get it. But I just think there's so much more opportunity for college sports to continue to grow if they can figure out this compensation piece. I think college sports is on the potential to really, really, really grow. And I think women's college basketball almost, of course, football and men's basketball are at the forefront, but women's college basketball is I really do think is super undervalued right now.
We talk about like the cable, to get the young people on my staff to post on Facebook and stuff. It's like pulling teeth to get them to get onto Facebook. My point is, this isn't even just, young people don't watch cable TV anymore. Like, there's even social networks and stuff that's all digital. They don't get on Facebook because their parents are on there stalking them, and like they don't do it. And I'm trying to explain to them, I don't care. Our audience is on Facebook. Like, there's a ton of people on it, but they don't fathom it. Yeah. And that's just like when you're looking 20 years down the road in college athletics, they don't give a shit if it's on Fox or Netflix. They'll find it. They have subscriptions to all these things anyways.
And Chris, I know you've been paying attention, but it's got to the point where if ESPN and Fox are so terrified, they're actually teaming up together on a streaming network.
Yeah, they know they're screwed.
They do.
They know they're screwed.
But yet we gave them. I just want to ask somebody who's in the room for that college football playoff, because in my mind, they had to leave money on the table for convenience with that. They just had to. It makes zero sense why ESPN was the only bidding entity for a property that is going to get the monster viewers that playoff's going to get. It's going to blow everybody's mind. I do think it's smart that they did those first round games on campus. That's going to look great. It's going to be really cool.
Absolutely.
It's just, why did we not even try here to do something else?
Let Amazon buy 2 quarterfinal games.
Yeah, I just
split it up. Look at the NFL playoffs. They're not giving it all to one network.
Nope.
How dumb are they?
Mind-boggling, and it literally.
I'm telling you though, and I'm not trying to be ageist here, but have you ever met Bill Hancock?
I've seen
He's
him.
the executive director. He can barely walk. It's like, it's the same thing. I was gonna say the 2 men running for president, right? Like, what are we doing? Like, and nothing against Bill Hancock, but this is the same guy. The same guy who's the director, who kicked and screamed and fought against a playoff for 20 years. We got to keep the Bulls. We got to keep the. Why? Why are the Bulls even around? Like, get these guys from Tostitos and get them out of the picture. They're just sucking revenue away. You got a money problem right now. You need to keep as much of it for yourself as you can. Why are we letting these vultures just hang around and suck the money away from college athletics?
I legit think, and it's going to come to fruition here soon, because college athletics does have a money problem, but they didn't know it because they could keep spending recklessly and just double down and figure it out. Well, now that you have to give $30 to $40 million to the players, everyone's running into this. Like I said, A&M even cut positions.
Yeah.
And so now they're going to go like, wait a second, why did we do that? I just, there's going to come a point where more and more schools are going to get bailed out by universities themselves. Now, I learned this is interesting. There is a law in the state of Iowa that the University of Iowa and Iowa State can receive no money from its schools to athletics programs. It's a law. I wonder if that gets revisited. I really do.
Well, and they'd be stupid not to.
I get why they did it. Now, Northern Iowa, by the way, they're not as part of that law, which is interesting, and they are taking state funds and thus university funds. But yeah, I think a lot of these programs are going to be going through it here in the next 5 years once they have to compensate players.
I surprisingly did not get much pushback from the Ames people with my take on that last week. When I was like, I dare you to fight against college athletics in Ames. I dare you. I didn't get a single bit of pushback from that. I was shocked. I thought I would have my email blown up because I think that they know. Like, and I'm not saying that all your taxpayer money should go to fund the football program and make sure that the edge rushers making $1 million a year. That's not my point. I'm just saying, take away Iowa football and Iowa State football. See what it does to your local economies. I dare you. You will come crawling back. I promise you. Like, it's just a fact. And that's not even factoring in the basketball, wrestling, and everything else. But
what you're missing, Chris, is some of these folks are like, no, I want it smaller and without athletics. That would be great. Then my peaceful little town of 28,000 people is just
going
like
to die.
Well, just like I want it, because I'm afraid of new things.
And then your housing values are going to shrink, and it's just there's a lot that goes into it. I get it. It's just like.
Well, I do think
it's like the guy that is pissed that his tailgating spot is going to be gone because of Sci-Town. It's like, I get it. It sucks for you, and I'm sorry.
But you're afraid of new things.
Yeah, and it's like, maybe this won't work, but at least they're trying. Like, they're trying through Sci-Town to be able to make another piece of revenue so they don't have to raise your tickets as much. That's what they're trying to do. It may not happen. I don't know. This Pollard guy hasn't been wrong too many times, though. What I would
challenge the parking people, it's like, okay, well, let's keep it as it is, and we're gonna charge you 5 times for your parking now and your donation,
right? And they bitch about that.
Now to get that parking spot, we're gonna charge you, instead of $2,500, we're gonna charge you $12,500. What do you think about that? So, yes, it's just, Chris, I do think it's interesting. I'm a big believer that fear of the unknown controls a lot of decisions in this world, and it's scary. It's scary to some people, but it's leaving. In my opinion, it's leaving a bunch on the table, and I'm glad. I'm glad that we're getting some new ideas on board. I think Yormark is going to be good for the Big 12 in this standpoint. He's going to have some misses. He has had some misses.
Yeah,
but something like separating this TV contract can be good. And what I would challenge all these administrators is, listen, if you keep going down the same path, and the same path has led to this near point of destruction, maybe it's time to look somewhere else.
I want to thank our friends over at the Iowa State University Foundation. We've talked about a lot of gross things. This is certainly not. Go to movewhatmatters.com, where you can be a part of something bigger as we work to build a network of Iowa State supporters who can help people and projects succeed. MoveWhatMatters.com. All these are tax deductible. I give regularly to multiple areas on campus. Give them a shout out today. MoveWhatMatters.com. Also want to thank our friends over, our friend Colin Newell. You can save thousands a year on all of your insurance if you go with former Iowa State center Colin Newell. Brock Purdy used to touch his rear end. Farm Bureau Financial Services, Colin Newell. He saved me $1,000 this year. He saved Brent $600. I have people all the time who are reaching out to Colin, so we appreciate him.
Guy Evan sent me a text this week that he just signed up with Colin.
There you go. We're starting a revolution, an insurance revolution with our buddy Colin Newell over at Farm Bureau Financial Services. Also, last but certainly not least, our buddy Jeff Kelderman and Kelderman Manufacturing. Actually had our old buddy Ross Evelyn. I wanted to give a shout out to him.
Yes.
Brent, his old man passed away, and we love you, Ross. Ross has been a friend of ours for a long time, and I'm sure he's probably listening to this. But we were talking about, he was wanting to do a deal to mark a thing for his dad on the farm, and we're talking about getting one of those signs made at Kelderman's, the laser cutting that they can do there. And I was like, that's perfect. That's a perfect idea. So they can do stuff like that. They are I like to go in there and look at the suspensions that they put on custom diesel trucks. Give them a look. Kelderman.com. That's KELDERMAN.com. Good local company out of Oskaloosa. Let's go to our Wiffles Hybrids Big 12 segment. Plant your independence, plant Wiffles, as we are going to just dive into this mailbag. Not necessarily a lot of Big 12 specific stuff, Bloom, but certainly all this is related. I want to do a quick one here because this is from Garrett. Will the college football playoff payouts be renegotiated by the time the ACC is dissolved? How do you anticipate the payout percentages changing when there is just the Power 3, the SEC, the Big 10, and the Big 12? So that's fascinating. And Garrett, I'll probably take this in a little bit of a different direction because I don't know the answer to your question as far as will the payouts be renegotiated. I would guess no, because I don't. Bloom, if you read the language in a lot of, like, North Carolina got a little squirrely this week with the ACC.
Yep.
I don't know how this is still a league in 5 years.
It's not going to be. It's not unless something drastically changes. It just
the only way it can change is if all the other schools say we're not going to take any money and we're going to give it all to. And I don't even know if that'll do it with Florida State and Clemson because you still have what happened last year with the playoff.
Right. Clemson, Florida State, and now North Carolina are not going to be happy until they figure something else out. And I don't. The ACC, from all the language that came out this week from some of their meetings, does not seem like a healthy place. And Chris, it comes back all to the same conversation: is the ACC now knows, just like the Big 12 knows, like these other schools know, that they just got added an additional $25 to $30 million on their bottom lines almost out of nowhere that they now have to find. And so all those schools are now thinking, okay, well, now we have to compensate players. We're already getting this much less than the SEC and the Big 10. The player compensation thing is only going to speed up their desire to go to a bigger league.
Yeah.
And back to that same conversation, why do the SEC and the Big 10 continue to want to hoard the money? Because they've been the most reckless. And I mean, look at the buyouts that they have for their coaches.
Yeah.
And so they know if we don't keep raising the pot for ourselves, we're going to be in a worse position because how much are we spending on our former coaches? I mean, they did this to themselves, but it's also at the penalty of everybody else now. So yes, everyone wants to race to the convenient and known commodity, which is the money of the Big 10 in the SEC. I have a hard time thinking the ACC is going to survive in its current form unless something drastic happens.
I think this will be just like the Pac-12. I think that's how it's going to start.
It'll get piecemealed around. And then at that point, will there be a negotiation? Yes. But as long as money is still needed and money is a competitive advantage, the Big 10 and the SEC are still going to fight for their amount.
I don't see a world where the Big 10 and the SEC are going to be like, oh, we'll give you an equal share.
No.
That's never going to happen.
Unless it's dictated by somebody higher up. And I don't even know who that would be at this point.
Well, and that goes back to Pollard's comments at the tailgate tour when he said, "Why do they need two commissioners making $5 million a year if they're all just making?" And again, like at some point you can't make any more money, and that's where relegation comes in my opinion. Like that's where, Vanderbilt, it was great. Thank you so much for your service. We're kicking you out because then we can take more for our football powers.
For sure. Yeah, no, that's I just the ACC, man. I do think to his point, I think we're headed to three major conferences in the next decade,
which will be a fascinating book for somebody to write. How the Big 12 is one of them. If you would have said that in 2010, that ultimately there, because everybody said it was going to be the 16-team conferences, right? It was a foregone conclusion. That was, and the Big 12 was the one that was going to get left behind, and it's going to be the one of the last three standing.
Yep, it's going to be 320s. 320s, is that what we're looking at probably?
Yeah, I almost wonder if it'll be a little bit more. 320s makes a lot of sense. I could see it going up to 24 even. And I would also say I wouldn't be shocked if in some world there's a little bit of movement in the Big 12. Like if it'd depend on if like the Big 10 actually cares about academics like it says it does. Like, if they really are doing this AAU thing.
No, they're not.
The other interesting piece to this to just keep in the back of your mind is what happens to Notre Dame. And the reason I say that is because it has this scheduling deal with the ACC. Well, if the ACC doesn't exist, what is Notre Dame? Is that what finally puts them in a league?
Gosh, you'd have to think so. But they're getting
they've always had that sweetheart deal where they play all these average ACC teams.
But they're getting them. NBC's paying them a bunch. That's what offsets it. They don't even need. That's what. Somebody asked me this the other day, and I was like, let me look that up. Notre Dame's going to get less in the college football playoff than Iowa State is, but they don't care because they're getting so much more on their own through the NBC deal that they would rather have the autonomy and independence and not have to deal with somebody else, which I think is actually smart because they can. There's nothing stopping Notre Dame from going to negotiate with those tech companies and just blowing everybody else away. That's what I would do.
Okay, let's go now to Carter. Let's get away from the sports business stuff for a little bit. Carter says, how do you think the men's and women's basketball teams will live up to the hype this year? I'm only asking because we're at all-time levels for both programs. Do I think they will? I don't know. I mean, why not? Why not? I think the women's program probably has a higher ceiling, I think, than most people can fathom.
100% agree. 100% agree.
Where I feel like with the men, like, we all know it. Like, Iowa State has had these where it's just like, if you get hot and like, but if it still feels like in the Big 12, Iowa State's going to get picked, what?
Third or fourth.
Yeah. Right, even though they're a preseason top 5 in many polls, that's where they're going to get picked.
Kansas is going to be the overwhelming favorite.
Yeah, but like the women, their off season really couldn't have gone any better.
Gosh. I was talking to someone with the staff this week, and they're like, "Blum, you have no idea how good the Marquette kid is and the Oregon State kid is." They're like, how we got both of them is still a mystery to us. Which I was like,
the Oregon State, Lily.
Yeah, Hansford.
One of my favorite signees, a big air raid guy. If I don't play defense, right? Like, I don't care about defense. So I tell Otzelberger all the time, you're going at this all wrong. Just kidding. That gal in her 43% three-point. Oh, my gosh.
At 6'2".
I think it'll be a lot. I guess my point is, I think it'll be easier for the women to live up to the hype because I don't think fans are as like educated as to how good they're actually going to be. I think the men, there's going to be preseason top 5, and you could be really good and get 3rd or 4th in that league, which would be deemed a disappointment by most.
And then on the women's side, Texas and Oklahoma finished 1-2 in the league. Yes. They're both gone. And
are they the favorite?
K-State, it brought back Ioka Lee for the 9th year, so I don't know how. I'd like to check in.
Give me Iowa State over Kansas State.
I agree with that. And then I'm trying to think from the newbies. Colorado's decent. Arizona's decent. Arizona State is horrible. Utah's okay.
We forget about that with the men that Arizona's joining the league.
Yeah, they've had an interesting offseason. So
yeah, it has been all over the place.
They've got some new guys, but he's good. I think Tommy Lloyd's one of the best coaches in the country. They're going to be good. And then, Cincinnati just added a big from Texas, the Mitchell kid, this week. They're going to be good. They'll be top 25. Cincinnati.
They jumped into Parrish's top 25 this week with that addition.
That makes you feel like I know what I'm talking about. No, I think you're right. The men are going to get the attention because they did it last year. And you really return everybody. So here's a fascinating question. Let's do this. Let's have this exercise. Starting 5 for the men's and the women's team as of May 19th.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, why don't you just give them and then I'll commentate and then I'll see if I can pick them apart. I'm going to
here's-
pull up rosters.
Yeah, here's what I'll go. I'll go for the men's team. There's some easy ones. Taman,
Mm-hmm.
Keyshawn,
Yes.
Milan.
Yep.
I'm gonna go Jefferson
Okay.
and Deshaun Jackson as my starting 5. But I'm
so
bringing in
no Kojo.
I'm bringing in Cujo and Nate Heisey as my weapons off the bench. They're both gonna play a bunch, bunch. And then and I'm probably forgetting somebody. I mean, I think Noyes is going to play. Clearly, Chatfield's coming into play some, and yeah,
Chatfield will play.
Yeah, he'll play. Who am I missing? JT's going to play.
The Rock.
The Rock. Anyway, I would say
Pierce is probably looking at I would guess he redshirts.
I would think so, but again, can you get anybody to
knows?
redshirt in this environment? That's always difficult. Who am I missing? Anybody?
They have not updated the roster on Cyclones.com. Let me look at CycloneFanatic.com because I know Connor's been doing that. I think we're good.
Yeah, I keep coming back here. I believe that Nate Heisey is going to play more than the average fan realizes. I think he's really, really good. Super excited about him.
I think he'll be the most underrated guy on the team going into the year.
I agree. And the people are like, oh my gosh, you can't get that guy off the floor.
Yeah, most fans are going to look at him like, oh, he's this UNI kid.
They're going to think he's
Watson.
Jackson.
You didn't mention Watson.
D-Watt. Shoot. Yeah, he'll play. Yeah. Man, gosh, they
got
who the
hell's not going to play? And Caden Fish, but I'm guessing that I don't know. He had a medical red shirt last year.
Yeah, he should be okay, but he'll be.
Everybody can't play. Like
everybody
it's not.
Play. That's why I would say Pierce would be the obvious person to redshirt if anybody does redshirt. And then I don't know. I mean, Noyes is really good, but it's gonna be hard to. To me, it's gonna be hard to get Keyshawn, Curtis Jones, Nate Heisey off the floor, and obviously Taman as well. So what do we do here? That's gonna be the biggest challenge.
So the women, jeez,
this is. I mean, this is incredible.
This is really hard.
Yeah, Emily, Ryan.
Yep.
Audie Crooks, Addie Brown, all guarantees. Okay, we're gonna start there.
Okay.
I'm going Hare and Hansford, based on what I know as the other two starting. So then look who you're bringing off the bench.
Well, and those recruits,
right?
Tanky. But then you've got Kelsey Jones still hanging around out there.
Yep.
What about Ariana Jackson? She was
I know. She's great. Awesome person.
Could Ariana Jackson be, and my love for Emily Ryan, probably my favorite Cyclone women's basketball player of all time. Could Ariana Jackson with a good offseason push her in a sense that we're at the end where this is kind of like a Austin Arnaud, Brett Meyer situation? Just with a much better team.
Yeah, I mean, look at I don't think because again, Crooks and Brown got all the attention. Look at Jackson's numbers last year.
Dude, she was lights out. She was so good in that middle of that Big 12 stretch. They started to struggle. She bailed them out a couple games.
AJ shot 42% from 3, and so when we talk about all these newcomers coming in, you forget, oh my gosh, and she handled the ball a bunch.
I don't think any of us talked about her enough last year.
I totally agree. I'm team AJ, but yes, I think obviously Emily's got to be the starter there.
Yeah.
I think AJ gets more and more minutes. Completely agree. And then Kelsey Jones, it didn't shoot it great, you don't think, but she shot at 39%. I mean, it's like holy cow. She's going to play, and she plays really good defense. I think the women's team, holy smokes, the upside's really good. I'm putting Hare and I'm putting Hansford in there for now, but you've got options there for sure.
Couple things before we go. We did with the College of Business, the Ivy College of Business, we told you about this. Our first episode on the business of college sports that specifically impact Iowa State. Summer series with Jacqueline Cordova. We did our first one, and it was the history of Cyclone Fanatic, which may not be interesting to many of you. I don't know, but I get these questions all the time because what we do is so unique. and we did about an hour on like how it became what it did, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. I've gotten a lot of good feedback to it, more than I thought I would.
I
A lot
enjoyed
of
it. I enjoyed it.
You had a front row seat to all of that. It was
you had a really good point. I think Jackie asked, "When did you know?" And I thought it was a good answer by you. I know one of the rare ones, but it was a good one. Uh,
Thanks.
it was that football recruiting party
Yeah,
when all
it was
those when all the coaches showed up for one, but then we got there and the place was standing room only like 2
yeah.
hours before, and it's like, holy cow, is this because of Cyclone Fanatic? I mean, this is crazy. And that was what, 2010? So
Yeah, it would have been 2010. Yeah,
I mean
would have
that,
been the winter of 2010.
and that's kind of when we both looked at each other like, oh my gosh, this is crazy, all because of the internet. And then a couple you would pop on, and I would occasionally on KXNO back when the glory days of sports talk radio. But the fact that grew that quickly, and you could have literally 800 people at a keg stand on a random Wednesday night. Yeah, I think
Well,
that was your answer.
the other part to that too that we didn't get into is that cake stand relationship was really important in growing because we would do these Tuesday night game watches.
Yeah, that was that. Yep,
that
yep.
were crazy.
They were fun. I still remember the Iowa State Oklahoma State game,
The big Silky game.
the big Silky game where he went nuts, and I think they lost in double overtime with
I'm
Uncle
still mad
Jake
about
Anderson.
that game.
Yeah, and we that place was like rocking on a Tuesday night. And
Christopherson was on that team. Yeah,
I'm glad my wife, and then girlfriend at the time, drove me home because we had too much fun. And to your point, CW said, I think the audience someone has grown up with us where we've gone from we go those Tuesdays and have way too many cold ones to now we're talking about cleaning out the garage and playing with kids. Look at us.
The other thing I just wanted to end on is he made an announcement yesterday. I wanted to give my love to our friend Jack Woodford, former Iowa State Cyclone, now in the Iowa State Senate. His Senate office put out a piece that he's got a brain tumor, and I just wanted to publicly give our support. We've both known Jack for a really, really long time. Jack and I go back way farther than just doing the Cyclone Reaction show. We were babies in this industry together with the old Cyclone Nation website. You were a part of that too.
Yeah, he was doing Cyclone Nation before he even got into politics.
Yeah, way back before. I was running that site, and you were writing for it, and it was Luke Vandersanden was part of it, and that's when we got to know Jack. And I love you, man. Keep fighting. We're all here for you. And I would also encourage listeners just to be humans. Don't be don't be tribalistic. Like we're all humans. We're all Iowa Staters, and I don't care what side of the political side of your aisle. I saw too much of that this weekend that just made my skin crawl. So I don't even know what else to say without getting choked up because I love Jack. He's been a good friend over the years.
Well, thoughts with him, but also then Rachel and
absolutely
3 kids that they have. So I mean, there's more to it than just the individual.
His parents, his mom and dad come on all of our Cyclone Fanatic trips over the years. You and me and Jack and Ed, remember we played in that golf outing down there to honor Chris Love that one year. Do you remember that?
I do. At Boss Land in there. Absolutely.
Yeah. He that was a real awakening moment for me, Southwest Iowa kid, and like, oh wait, all courses aren't opposite fairway. Like I can't play it up to hit to the one green. What kind of a course is this?
Jack, Division I football player, really good athlete, terrible golfer.
You and Ed were the sticks that day, if I recall.
We carried
Jack and I had our own cart. We were in the back.
That was about one of the first times I had met Jack, and of course he had to catch against Iowa in 2002, and with Seneca and all those things. And I thought, oh my gosh, this icon. And then I saw his first drive didn't get past the
you saw his
the
form.
red keys, and I was like, all right, I feel better about myself. So
Yeah,
no, well said, though. Well said.
Love you, buddy. Yeah, we'll end it on that. We will be back with our show on Wednesday, and we look forward to that. We got a new Kicking It coming up this week as well. As Woody's been on vacation, he's coming back. They had Ari Timken from Big 12 Radio on last week. Ari's great. He's a huge Cyclone Fanatic fan. He listens all the time, and they always give us shout outs on the air, which is kind of cool. But that was a good episode. If you're tired of this business stuff, like, go and listen to that, and you can get actual football conversation.
Speaking of those guys, guess who they're going to have supposedly at some point?
Paul, yeah. Paul's one guy I'm still needing to get locked down for the book. He's a tough guy to lock down. So I look forward.
Where is Rhodes now? I guess we'll have to listen to Kicking It. Is he at
Boston
BC?
College? I think.
Is he still there?
Well, he left. He retired for a year or something, and now he's back at Boston College. I think he's going to go back out. Or he's like an analyst, or I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
Because he went and coached high school.
Yeah, he did.
A
he was down in
defensive
Alabama.
coordinator. Yeah. And now he's back. I think he just took that year to refresh.
Man.
I miss him, man. I'm obviously I love Matt Campbell, but Rhodes was special as far as like a human. As far as sitting there and just talking to that guy, he had so much energy.
Well, you made a great point. As Dirk's in the background there is doing some yoga. I don't know if you can see him.
Yeah, you're watching on the YouTube.
He's bored.
You can see Dirk.
He's pretty bored. So we'll wrap it up, Dirks. I'm sorry. No, I think that Rhodes connection, Rhodes and Hoiberg came at a perfect time for the fan base that coincided with Cyclone Fanatic, where it went from here are these local guys, and I do think having that local connection really helped grow the popularity of Iowa State athletics at a time where it needed it. And then Jamie pushed all the right buttons to increase ticket holders and all of those things. But I think Rhodes and Hoiberg, when you look back at the big picture of Iowa State athletics, their relatability and their personality was so critical. I mean, if you have Gene Chizik during that time, it could have got really sideways there. But I think we all owe a lot to Paul Rhodes, even though that didn't end the best. But certainly grateful for his time and in the relay of Iowa State athletics.
Well, hopefully they get him locked down soon.
I do too. I can't wait to listen to it.
All right. He is Brent Blum. My name is Chris Williams. Have a great rest of your Sunday if you're listening to us on Sunday afternoon or Sunday night if you are Monday morning. Have a great work week. For Brent Blum, my name is Chris Williams, signing off here on the Cyclone Fanatic Podcast Network.